Good morning. Welcome to the program. Today is Tuesday, May 19th, 2026. Really appreciate you guys tapping in for a second day of the Hughes Views 414 YouTube broadcast. Got a few things we're going to discuss today. Hopefully things will go a little bit better. I think I've kind of smoothed out some of the rough edges, because 99% of what a producer would do when I was in the studio, I now have to do for myself. So we'll see how it goes. So here in the city of Milwaukee, I'm sure some of you are elsewhere, but you probably can relate to an uptick in crime. And I think it's probably the biggest issue that we face. It's now starting to guide my decision making on where I go. And also keeping in mind that the cost of everything is a lot more expensive as well. So it's not just our financial decisions that are guiding where we go and what we do. Do we really want to go to that side of town? Do we really want to take the risk of, a violent incident taking place, right? I don't know if we have a solution. We talk about things and we discuss things, but we don't know what the right course of action is. And I think ultimately it's going to cost a lot of money, and we can't afford to be wrong. So there's another story that I want to share with you guys, and it's likely going to be a very common story. There was a shooting on Brady Street that involved a 17-year-old, right? And ladies and gentlemen, basically, here we go again, right? The summary isn't even here yet. The worst part of the violence is not even upon us. And we're trying to figure out exactly what the hell we're going to do. And so we talk about this stuff all the time, but we talk about it and it's just like, oh, well, guess I won't be going to Brady Street again. I don't think that is a suitable reply. From WISN, a 17-year-old was shot on Milwaukee's east side, police said. The shooting happened around 11 p.m. last night near the intersection of Farwell and Brady Street in Milwaukee. Police believe there was some kind of an argument before the shooting. The teen is expected to survive. I don't know if you can get more disappointing than that. These things always start with an argument. And here's the thing, what happens to just arguing and then just walking away? I know that's oversimplifying everything. But it seems now that every argument is ending in gun violence, no matter where it takes place. So for those of you that are seasoned, you've been around for a while, there were certain parts of town where this kind of stuff didn't happen. Do you guys recall that? Or you could go to certain places, and I'm not going to just shame the north side, but if you wanted to get away from what could be common on one side of town, and look, stuff happens on the south side, obviously things happen on the east side as well, but there used to be, it seems, a period of time where you could go places and you wouldn't have to worry about anything. Now it seems like no place is safe. And I think the things that we come up with as far as solutions, let me give you an example. So we have still a reckless driving problem in the city of Milwaukee. It really got worse during the pandemic. And then it reached a fever pitch once we were back in our cars and driving to work again. And the city comes up with these genius ideas. And I don't know, maybe we got to take a survey on how well you think the reckless driving prevention efforts have gone. I know it's cost us about $80 million. And do you think that the bump outs and the narrowing the lanes of traffic and making bike lanes, which I'm not really a fan of, because to me a bike lane symbols gentrification? Because let's be honest, black folks we don't ride bikes like that. We really don't. If you want us to ride bikes like that, you got to start like an organization, like a group. Black Bikes Matter. We don't ride bikes. But that was a part of the strategy to mitigate reckless driving. And I don't think that it worked. It might have slowed it down for a little while until the reckless drivers responded to and adapted to the bump outs and the single lanes and the narrowing of traffic lanes and the bike lanes. But for almost $80 million, I don't know if we got the decrease in reckless driving that we all were hoping for. And so when it comes to the violence and the shootings, we can have more programs for kids. It was a 17-year-old kid that got shot. We don't know the details of the argument. You never do. But it just reminds me that as the weather gets warmer, there won't be any safe parts of the city of Milwaukee. And ultimately, I think that that's very bad for business. Let me say hello to some folks. I'm so glad you guys are. Terreno Haynes, good morning, beautiful soul. Good to see you as well. Willie Gray, Vanessa. Hi, Vanessa. Thank you guys for joining us. So I'm talking about this story from Brady Street where a 17-year-old was shot. One of the proposals for Water Street. So stuff on Water Street is already starting to close. I don't know if you guys know that. But there was an old mainstay bar right on the corner of Juno and Water Street. Duke's had been there literally forever, right? They just announced abruptly that they were closing. Everybody was just completely and totally shocked that bar that had been there, it had been there for so long, most people would drive past it and not even realize it was there. Like an old fire hydrant. It's just sitting there. They closed abruptly, and they cited some reasons like, the cost of rent, drinking habits have changed, which is absolutely true. Drinking habits have in fact changed, but for Duke's to abruptly just close like that is a sign of the times. And so one of the proposals, this is why I think that we have to be right. We haven't been right yet in some of the efforts that we want to get behind and support to prevent violence, because I don't want to get shot leaving the house, because it would make for a very bad day, because I'm trying to go and run my errands and live my life, and I don't want my safety to have to be the first thing that I think about. And now, probably more than ever, and maybe because I'm getting older, I have to be a little bit more concerned with my safety, because when I was like in my 20s or my 30s, I think I would view my safety differently. Like, if there's a problem, I'll just fight somebody. I don't want to fight anybody because I'd rather not, and I might get my ass kicked, which is embarrassing for me. I don't want to have to deal with that. But because there's these occurrences that are taking place all over the city, we don't know when they're going to happen. We know that they largely involve young people, but every now and again you hear about somebody in their 40s or their 50s involved in one of these altercations. But businesses are going to start closing. They suggested for Water Street, I don't know how far this goes, basically barricading it, similar to what we had during the RNC in 2024. And if most of you were not downtown during the RNC the summer of 2024, good, because it was an absolute mess. You had checkpoints, you had to get your vehicle searched. Now, will they go to that extent to protect Water Street per the, I guess, wishes or the request of Alderman Bob Bauman? I highly doubt it. I don't think they're going to go that far. But there are cities that have used barricades to gate off their entertainment districts to prevent a lot of what we saw last summer and then what we are likely to see this summer. And so I started the program this morning talking about a 17-year-old getting shot last night on Brady Street. And I hate to sound like a broken record, but this is a scenario that happens all of the time in the city of Milwaukee. And I want us to be able to get out ahead of it, because if there's something that brings revenue to the city of Milwaukee, it is travel and tourism dollars. But if people are afraid to go out downtown, then those travel and tourism dollars are going to start to disappear. Because if you have money to spend and you want to have a good time, don't you want to be assured that nothing is going to happen? So gating Water Street it's not a new idea. Other cities have done it that have dealt with crime in their entertainment districts. But let me just give you an example of how we have to get it right and how we haven't gotten it right so far. The food truck suggestion. They banned or attempted to ban, the Milwaukee Common Council said no more food trucks downtown after 10 p.m. because where the troublemakers gather, we don't want that area to turn into a restaurant with food choices, which if you write it down, it makes sense, right? If you have a whole bunch of under 21s, they can't get into the bar, but there's a food truck there, that could be an excuse for them to hang around. Now, we didn't consider the food truck owners, and I think this is something that we're going to have to start doing more often, considering the business owners. Because if you put gates up around Water Street as an example, which may or may not happen, some people will feel safe going to Water Street. Some people will never go there ever again. And I'm not necessarily talking about us, because Water Street ain't my jam and it hasn't been my jam for a very, very long time. But just the appearance of those kinds of barricades, especially to someone who is not familiar with the area, it might look like it's a crime-ridden area. And you figure if just 5% or 10% of the people decide that they want to stay home or go somewhere else, or hell, get on the train and go to Chicago, that is going to start killing businesses. So with the food trucks, they said, look, food trucks, you can't operate after 10 o'clock. We didn't consider the food truck owners and the fact that they make their money and a big share of their business between 10 p.m. and 2 p.m. The behavior of the people in that area is not the problem of the food truck. They are there to serve food to people that are hungry, including legitimate bar patrons that might want to get a bite to eat after they come out of the bar. So what happened was the food truck, like business owners, went to court. It was like, yeah, this isn't fair to us, that you're shutting us down, cutting off our revenue. So they actually went to court and they got a stay. So here's an example of an idea that was implemented. They attempted to implement it, but it just did not work. When you hear the age of the person in this Brady Street shooting, I can pull the story up, actually. I can go like that. The 17-year-old, we think for a second that, oh, okay, well, we'll have more teen programs, right? See, these kids that are involved in this kind of stuff, they're not going to the basketball league. They're not going to the YMCA. But for some reason, we think that that's what they're going to do. We need more programs. You know how many times I've heard y'all say, oh, we need more roller skating rinks. That doesn't work. The stuff that we were doing a generation ago and the activities that we had does not apply to this short attention span dopamine and cell phone addicted young people. They want excitement. And I don't think the kind of excitement that they are looking for, older adults who are concerned about their safety are able to provide for them. There's another incident that took place. I don't know if I can mention it or not because it didn't really make the news, but a very high profile business also downtown in the vicinity of Water Street got robbed recently. Now, I probably shouldn't be sharing the details because other media hasn't shared it. And also, I want to respect the privacy of the business owner. But that's two major incidents in the Water Street area in a very, very short period of time. And we haven't even gotten to the worst of the hottest part of the summer just yet. And so perhaps I should ask you all, what do you think we can do? Because even if you don't go out downtown, and a lot of you don't, some of you have no interest in it, maybe it's too expensive, maybe your drinking habits have also changed, but we have to preserve the business integrity of the city. And I don't know if residents consider that. We just want the crime to stop. And we don't care who or what gets sacrificed. If food trucks have to close at 10 o'clock, people are okay with it. If a couple of business here or there close, well, that's fine. If they can't stay open because of the increase in crime. No, this is a problem for all of us because Milwaukee has a real difficult time attracting big business. Now, I think we should have an easier time attracting big business. But we got a couple of other things that are not necessarily working in our favor. I do want to talk about the MPS as well, because that kind of fits into the mix of why it's difficult for us to attract businesses. But we can't be in a position or a situation where, because we don't know what to do and because we can't figure out what at least a temporary solution would be that doesn't hurt businesses, that allows for people to go out and have a good time and feel safe, because we keep spending money. And now we got to be more frugal with our tax dollars because everything is more expensive. And every experiment that we consider, right, has got to be right because it's costing more money. Y'all are going to be very angry when we get the next MPS referendum. I promise you that. You're going to be very, very angry. Costs are probably not going to come down. I don't know what gas is per gallon. I have to quote gas prices per gallon every so often because a lot of you drive gas-powered vehicles. I don't have that problem. That's more of a problem for you all. But we're less likely to approve an MPS referendum because the cost of everything else is just so incredibly high, right? We are having a hard time attracting businesses in the city of Milwaukee because the output of our school system is not providing a workforce that a potential business would be looking for, because they want to look at all the demographics. They want to look at how many colleges we have. They want to look at the amenities before they make this gigantic investment in the city of Milwaukee. And if they see how poorly our public schools are performing, and here's the thing, I got to be clear when I say this because people get real mad at me. I had a conversation yesterday about MPS with somebody and they kind of pushed back on me a little bit. It's not every student. There are some students that are getting a fantastic education. In fact, and I don't know when this interview is going to happen, but I was supposed to have another interview with Brenda Caselius, the superintendent, to discuss all of the MPS kids who are getting scholarships. And some of them are going to Ivy League schools. Now, we don't talk about that enough. We don't talk about it enough because it's such a small minority of students, such a tiny minority, that the larger story is the sheer raw data of poor performance. Kids can't read, kids can't do math. That does not help us attract businesses. And at the same time, businesses are likely going to close because of the uptick in crime, which we're trying to figure out what to do something about. And also, I'd have to say that more police is not the answer. If more police was the answer, then we would see some measurable differences. But I don't think that that's it. That also has its own drawbacks as well. More police that's not going to help, because what we do is we strengthen the police union, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but when you increase the number of police officers, you also increase the likelihood that there's going to be a negative incident between the citizens here in the city of Milwaukee and the police, right? So we haven't had one in a while, thank goodness. We haven't had an officer involved incident that has caused, harm to someone. Not that I know of. I'm assuming that if something like that would have happened, we probably would hear about it. But I think we've just been lucky, or there has been such a changing in police where the police are a lot more gentle, I suppose, with how they apprehend suspects, and now they're not chasing, and they do have a chase policy, etc. So we've also tried that, right? Oh, let's increase the number of police. Let's increase the number of patrols. No matter how many police we have, you're not going to have enough cops in the areas in which something randomly could potentially take place. So I'm having I don't know what you guys are seeing right now, but I'm having another technical difficulty with my stream. And damn it, I thought I had it today. I thought everything was going well. So here's what I think I need to do. I think I might need to restart. Oh no, is that it? Am I back? I think I'm back now. Okay, there we go. All right, I'm back. No, I'm not back. Hold on. Let's get my life together here. Because right now, I don't know what you all are seeing. Okay, I think I'm back now. You guys see me? Okay, good. So, Milwaukee Public Schools is the bane of our existence. We just gave them another $250 million. Thank you, E. Gibson. Yeah, because what I see on my screen is probably a lot different than what you guys are seeing showing up. Just making sure everything is on the up and up. So thank God I didn't have to restart. We have a crime problem in the city. A lot of it is youth focused. Now I could go to what the real problem is, but I don't know if we're ready to deal with that. A lot of these kids that are causing the mayhem, they're unwanted, they're unsupervised, and they're unparented. So another solution would be, hold the parents responsible. What good is that going to do? You give a 33 or a 34-year-old mama or daddy with 4 kids. They got to work 2 jobs, and you give the mother or the father raising these kids. This is best case scenario. You give a 33 or 34-year-old mama or daddy a $1,000 ticket because their kid was out past curfew. Do you think that ticket is going to get paid? It's not. And then the parent is now in the criminal justice system for an unpaid ticket. And now that parent might get their driver's license suspended and will get pulled over on their way to work, all because they got this $1,000 ticket because we want to hold the parents responsible. That doesn't work either. Conflict mediation needs to be a part of the curriculum in the schools, because if we're going to be paying more money for MPS and we're not liking the output of it, and I don't like the output of it, and if businesses are going to close, there's a very well-known business that was robbed in the Water Street area. A place called Duke's just recently closed. That is a sign of the times. Milwaukee cannot be at a point where we have reached this majority-minority status. The plurality of people in the city of Milwaukee are black folks. And if the plurality of people that are causing problems and issues and crime, and I'm not just blaming black people, it's a whole bunch of other stuff, but we're looked at as such. And businesses may not want to serve us. I look at Elsa's. You guys still go to Elsa's? Elsa's somebody shot into Elsa's. This must have been maybe last summer, 2 summers ago, last summer. They closed down for a while. They made the repairs, and they reopened with a totally different menu. And the menu removed the items that African-American patrons would buy. Like Hennessy is gone. You can't get chicken wings anymore. That's embarrassing. Where businesses have to stop catering to Black culture in order to survive. And I think I see us differently. I see us as people that have been destined to lead. But to use the title of one of my previous YouTube streams, All That Glitters Is Not Gold, we've reached a point where we have a majority black members on the Common Council. And I almost regret saying that because automatically people are going to think like, oh, we have majority black, population in the city of Milwaukee, and we've got majority black Common Council members. Things should be doing, or black people should be doing a lot better. No, not even remotely close. There are those that will respond to the calls of leadership. An example of that would be, hey, everybody, the neighborhood is dirty. Let's clean it up. Let's have a neighborhood cleanup. And the people that go out there and clean up, and it could be people from all over, but if you live in a majority black neighborhood, you're familiar with the garbage. I tell y'all all the time about the garbage I got to pick up out of my yard. And every time I do it in protest. Because I'm thinking to myself, who the hell are you that you threw garbage? Sometimes wind blows garbage and you have to accept a certain amount of it because when you live in an urban area, just garbage just blows around. But I got shit in my yard that people dropped in my yard. I'm so offended. So we'll have a neighborhood cleanup. Shout out to my man, Tory Lowe. We probably should take a second to talk about Tory Lowe. Tory has announced he's leaving 1017 The Truth like 17 times. But I think he did something official yesterday because I shared it in the Hughes Views Facebook group. But shout out to Tory Lowe. Wish him the absolute best on his endeavors and whatever it is that he decides to do next. Tory Lowe is the most awarded and decorated broadcaster on 1017 The Truth, just so you guys know that. So consider that for a second. But when Tory does his annual neighborhood cleanup, it's people from all over. But a lot of times it's just us from our community because that is the sentiment of people that respond to leadership. We vote for somebody, we put them in office. They give us perspectives on things. They tell us what we need to be doing as a community, which makes their lives easier as an elected official. But there's a whole group of people that won't do it. They won't listen to leadership. We can build a whole bunch of stuff for young people. Build them a roller skating rink because clearly that's what you all think they need. There's a section of young people that will go skating and will do so peacefully. You can build more libraries, and there's a section of young people that will go to the library that you just built. But how do we capture that other element? And how do we capture them before they're adults and the consequences of their actions are much more severe? Do you hold the parents accountable? I don't know where that has actually worked because you're going to find some commonalities amongst these young people and these parents. They don't have a lot of money. So fining them adds a whole nother level of trouble. 414 Acorn says, for real, I hate litter bugs. At Curly, I agree, the owners suck, in my opinion. What did I miss in the YouTube chat? Reginald said, glad to be joining y'all this May Day. Oh, I talked to Dr. Ken this morning. And Dr. Ken is leaving The Truth as well. I believe he announced it. I hope he did. If he didn't announce it, I just did. And he is starting his own YouTube channel. So he's supposed to be joining us this morning. I told him to join the YouTube chat. People would get a kick out of seeing him. But then he and I are going to do some shows together on our respective YouTube platforms. For those of you that don't know, because it seems like information is scattered, it's getting a little bit better. I am using my last week of vacation as a Good Karma Brands employee because before The Truth was sold, we were under the umbrella of Good Karma Brand. Just so I can explain why I'm here, because some of y'all think that I've sworn off broadcast radio. I have not. I'm taking my last week of paid vacation that I had with the previous owners of 1017 The Truth. In the meantime, I'm broadcasting here until I go back to the same studio at the 3rd Street Market Hall on Tuesday, May 26th, to start my broadcast just like you guys remembered it. Nothing is going to change. So what time is it right now? Am I on right now? I guess they're probably doing a replay show. If you go to 1017 The Truth YouTube, but don't go, stay on this YouTube. Everybody subscribe, by the way. And tell your mom and them to subscribe too. But come Tuesday, May 26th, you're going to go right back to the 1017 The YouTube page and podcasting, however you guys listen. That's all going to be there. It's just going to be under different ownership. That's the only thing that has changed. So I'm here in the meantime. And also, I want to be much more involved with my own YouTube platform. And when I know I've said this before, but I really mean it this time. When I go back to broadcast on Tuesday, May 26th, I'm still going to maintain this channel and do a much better job of broadcasting here, because this allows me a level of freedom that I really don't have when I'm working for somebody else. And also, I'm just getting tired of, you think everything is going well, and I thought the things were going okay at 1017 The Truth, and all of a sudden we had a rug pull and we were sold to somebody. You get tired of that after a while. You get tired of all these different changes and lineup changes. Do y'all know how many producers I've had? 1 trillion. And this platform here, I'm still working out the bugs. This is not perfect yet. I'm still getting in the swing of things. So Dr. Ken is going to be a permanent YouTuber. So for those of you that watched his show, he's going to be doing it on his own via, I think it's Dr. Ken's Truth. It's his YouTube channel. Go ahead and give him a like and subscribe too. But yeah, he's going to be doing YouTube full time. I'm going to be doing both. So I'm going back to 1017 The Truth, and I'm also going to be here because this allows a freedom and a flexibility that you don't have on broadcast. And also, in the event that, and I hope things work out, let me be clear. I'm optimistic, and I'm not always optimistic. In the event that, for whatever reason, things don't work out, then I'll have this platform that I will be able to broadcast from. I don't know. They say in perpetuity. So we're talking about our beautiful and illustrious city and what the hell we can do to make some improvements and reduce the crime. So I got to tell you guys about this conversation I had yesterday, and then I got an MPS story here written by Alan Borsick. He says, here's a tough assignment. Draw some positive thoughts from the three-ring circus of Milwaukee and Wisconsin education news of the last few days. Each ring offers unhappy developments, but maybe there are takeaways that can help moving forward. Milwaukee Public Schools budget work. The current round of budget work in Milwaukee Public Schools brings concerning developments for the immediate future of the school system, and even more concerning developments for the immediate future of the school system, and more concerning developments for the next several years. Forecasts suggest the budget work several years from now may make this year's round look pleasant, meaning it is likely going to get worse because the district is going to need more money. And they just got, how much did MPS just get? $252 million? And that's not going to be nearly enough. So I am in favor of something that makes me reasonably unpopular with other Democrats. And I support school choice because Democrats believe that supporting school choice or quote unquote vouchers is going to take away from the Milwaukee public school system. I would argue that the curriculum we have and the thing that produces our workforce is missing the mark in how it's educating this generation of children. I don't know if the cultural relevance of the district is meeting the needs of where the young people are. I just don't believe that it's doing that. That's one of many problems that it has. But as we give more money to the district, because nobody says no. Nobody says no to the thing that educates Milwaukee's future workforce. If they need more money, you give it to them because you don't want to be blamed when they have to cut budgets and cut programs and close schools. So when they ask for more money, they also threaten us though too. well, if we don't get this referendum, then we're going to close 39 different schools. Just like those of us that are in broadcast radio get tired of kicked around, there's some parents that are probably tired of getting kicked around as well. Maybe their youngest children went to one school. That school was underutilized. It closed. They had to go to another school. That school got either closed or combined with another school. And so a lot of those parents are saying, screw it, I'm going to leave the district altogether. I'm going to take my children and put them in a charter school or maybe even a private school, because the parental choice program allows parents to get essentially a subsidy or a scholarship to send their children to a private school that would otherwise not be open to them because the tuition is too high. I believe that it's a remedy. It may not be the long-term fix, but I can't tell a parent to keep their child in a school that's going to lead that kid directly to prison because the educational environment, the academic environment in that school is poisonous. I cannot in good conscience and in good faith. But where I tend to differ with people that have my same political affiliation is when the district asks for more money, and they're going to get it. Until I see otherwise, if they ask for another referendum, it's probably going to pass. The money goes to the schools that are already high performing. The schools that need the money, and Aisha Carr told us this, the schools that need the money the most, that need additional programming, that need smaller class sizes, that need more specialists, they get the smallest amount of referendum money. The schools that have AP classes and that have all of the different after-school programs and this enrichment kind of curricula, they get the lion's share of the referendum money. So what you have is segregation within the district. High-performing schools are going to continue to be high-performing and will be even more high-performing because every time there is a request for referendum dollars, those high-performing schools get more so they can offer more. And also, if you look at where teachers and administrators send their kids, they send their kids to private schools. That's not a made-up statistic. If you're a teacher or a principal or administrator or whatever, and you don't send your children, assuming you have school-age children, I'm not sure how many MPS teachers have school-age kids, but the ones that do rarely send their kids to MPS schools. If they do, it's Golda Meir or it's Rufus King High School. I think you have a couple other high performers. Is Reagan a charter school? Because I know a lot of MPS teachers, administrators send their kids to Ronald Reagan High School. But those schools are limited in their size. And so every child, I think it's about 68,000 kids in MPS. The combined capacity of the 3 or 4 highest performing schools, barely even 3% of the total students of the 10 MPS. And so if there are viable options, including private schools or charter schools, we have to make that available because high-performing schools are always going to be limited, and we can't just say to parents and to kids, because that's how these kids end up jobless, hopeless, undereducated. They're not going to be voters. Their literacy levels are going to be high. Their illiteracy levels are going to be high. And who's going to hire them? Who's going to hire somebody that can't read? It's shocking to think that voter turnout is low in some of the most important elections because we have far too many people that can't read the ballot. Why? Okay, let me give you this one. Why do you think referendum questions are written the way they are written? Per statute 28654, Voting yes would require the state legislature upon 2 consecutive terms and consent of the governor in the next legislative session to overturn what was already overturned in state statute and the U.S. Constitution, Wisconsin Constitution. It's just a whole bunch of legalese. Referendum are written at a level of literacy that most people don't have. It's almost like a literacy test. That's why when we have a referendum on a ballot, like I read the referendum and I got to read that damn thing 3 or 4 times, and I got a college degree. I almost was going to say that I'm smart. I'm not. I'm not a genius. But it's like that on purpose because the people that design the referendum design the questions to be so difficult so that the people that will be harmed by the referendum, whatever the referendum is, the people that will be harmed the most oftentimes are the working class, the poor folks, and those folks who are least literate. We cannot continue down this path. And we have a school district that is churning out, and I can't just blame the teachers because parents have a lot to do with it as well. And so some of y'all would even say, oh, well, the parents need to get more involved. The parents are illiterate too. And the parents can't, with any measurable proof, illustrate to their children the value of an education because the parents are not living proof of it. You probably have a lot of parents telling these kids it's okay to drop out of high school and get a job and start working and making money as opposed to continuing on with an education, spending a whole bunch of money on tuition with no like guarantee that you're even going to get a job. We have to figure out, well, it's not even figuring it out. With Black people being the plurality of people in the city of Milwaukee, I think that incites fear in individuals that don't know what Black leadership may mean for them. The replacement theory is real, whether you like it or agree with it or not. There are some Trump supporters that believe that immigrants from other countries, other racial and ethnic and even religious minorities are going to outnumber white people, which they will. And so there's this tremendous amount of fear on behalf of those who are afraid to be outnumbered because they think that those marginalized groups, racial minorities, religious minorities. There was a shooting at a mosque in San Diego the other day. They think that when those who have been aggrieved by the majority, when they become the majority, that they are going to do to white people what white people have done to them. And we cannot convince these afraid white people otherwise. And so if you have that mentality, and it's hard for us to comprehend that mentality because it's insane, but if you are afraid that educated Black people and Hispanic, Latino people and educated Muslims are going to present competition for you, why would you want to educate their kids? That's what it comes down to. And so here we are, decent people trying to figure out a way in which everybody can have a fair shake. There are just as many or more people that do not want Black children, Latino children, Asian children to get a fair shake. That's what we're fighting against. And when you under-resource the people that you don't want to get a fair shake, because there still is a tremendous amount of control over money and over opportunity. Even though their numbers are shrinking, they still control a lot. Hell, they control the interest rates. Some of you would say they even control the weather. When you limit the access to opportunity and to hope and to funding, you're going to get a population that is disconnected from the system that creates positive outcomes. So the more we and we got to hold the kids responsible, and we should, but there is something much larger at play, and it's displaying itself in mass. The underfunding of the people. We're still drinking lead water. If that is any kind of reminder, it's like, oh, well, we have to replace the lead pipes because lead is poisonous. And it increases the likelihood that children are going to have a whole host of health problems, but also be academically stunted. I don't know if folks are aware of that part, that if you have lead in your system, and there's lead everywhere in Milwaukee, especially being a former industrial city, the lead itself is going to poison the children. There's a whole bunch of other negative health outcomes as well. And one of them is reduced intelligence and poor performance in school and poor performance on tests. But if you are not investing in removing environmental contaminants that impact the child's mental capacity, then you're also going to get some of these outcomes that makes us think that we just need more police and more criminalization. I will say that in the long run, argue with me if you'd like, building more jails and building more prisons has never demonstrated itself to make a community more safe. What it does, or what it seems to do, is give justice to a grieving family. So let's say there's a armed robbery and a murder, and the suspect gets caught, and the suspect gets life in prison. That doesn't mean that armed robberies and murders stop. That means a person who committed an armed robbery and a murder is stopped. And the family, the victim's family, gets a little bit of justice. Like, I don't know how happy somebody can be if you lost a loved one, and nothing brings them back. But then you find out, oh, the person that did it got caught and they're going to jail for 30 years. Does that really make you feel better? Because at the end of the day, you still lost a loved one. So then we've looked at a whole bunch of other ways of how do we remedy dealing with people that still have an inordinate amount of control over opportunity, over hope, over investment, over removing the lead pipes, over all of that. How do we come to some kind of common ground or negotiate with them? You can't. You cannot. There needs to be more people in at least political positions of power. But I got to give a disclaimer on that because you still have a majority African Americans on the Common Council, but that's not nearly enough. I hate using Barack Obama's presidency, but it's the only example that I have. He took the most detrimental thing that was impacting and plaguing the African American community, our health, and said, let's do something that presidents have tried to do for probably the previous 100 years, and that is have free or affordable health care. Now, what we got in the Affordable Care Act was the compromise of a lifetime. It didn't go far enough. We know all that. But you got to keep in mind, it had never happened in this country for one reason and one reason alone. You ever wonder why your healthcare is so goddamn expensive? Has anybody ever it's greed, and, some specialists deserve to make a lot of money. But do you ever just stop to think that if you don't have an insane amount of money for a deductible, or if you don't have a job, assuming that you're not eligible for Medicare or Medicaid, why do some people file bankruptcy because of their healthcare bills and the healthcare costs? Have you ever just thought about that for a second? Because they know that African Americans in particular have less money. And if we have less money, we are less likely to get healthcare. And if we have less money and if we are less likely to get healthcare because we can't afford it, we'll die. There's they call it a donut hole, the Part D section of Medicare. I'm just loosely familiar with such things because I'm not at that age yet. But you have to pay for 20% of your healthcare needs out of your pocket, even though you have paid into Social Security and Medicare essentially your entire working life. Well, why do they do that? Because black people have less money to pay for it, especially in retirement. And that 20%, which was a compromise by Congress, because they never wanted free or universal health care in this country. So I'm saying all these things to explain why we haven't made more progress. Now, there's been progress in other areas, of course, because no matter what, you can't hold minorities down because they've tried everything. And they're still trying, God bless them. But I'm just trying to give like a landscape that better explains. Otherwise, you're just going to blame black people for being stupid and dumb and violent, and it's black people's fault why black people can't read and everything else. There is a system that curated this country. They laid the foundations for it, and it never included. On paper, it looks that way. Like America's supposed to be this great, wonderful, fair country. It looks that way on paper. But in practice, it is not. And so how we deal with that is, okay, well, let's get people in high offices that represent the interests of the underprivileged folk. Then you see the rise of democratic socialism, which makes things even more complicated. The problem is the people who could best benefit from a total paradigm shift. And it's getting worse because there's a smaller and smaller group of people that they now control everything, especially with Donald Trump back president again. How that happened, I don't want to discuss it. But if it happened twice with Trump, it can happen a third time with somebody else. A smaller number of very, very wealthy and powerful people are controlling everything, and now they have a firm grip on the media. Don Lemon is just one of many examples. They are going after journalists because journalists are telling the truth. And if you go after journalists or if you intimidate journalists, then the people who are harmed the most in this society will remain uninformed and the harm will continue. It is a strategy. A lot of it was laid out in Project 2025, probably written at a college level. Most people didn't read it because they couldn't. And this is where we're at. That is why Donald Trump still holds. Donald Trump just endorsed somebody in a congressional primary, I want to say in Louisiana, against a Republican. So a Republican that was common sense because he was an anti-Trump guy. Donald Trump endorsed his opponent and the opponent won. So the impact of Trumpism, even though it's pure poison, it still has some weight, meaning the people that have the ability to make working class people and poor people's lives more miserable still have control over working class and poor people whose lives are miserable. You rarely hear a Republican or a conservative say Donald Trump is the reason why we're in another foreign war, a forever war, and why gas prices are going to be well above $5 a gallon for the foreseeable future. They are harming like that in and of itself, the unnecessary war. Because let me do a thing on the war real quick, which you didn't ask for, but I'm going to tell you anyway. American intelligence said that Iran was getting a nuclear weapon. That's what our intelligence agencies told us. How come no other intelligence agency showed that? The United States of America is not the only nation that has a spy operation that gathers intelligence from foreign nations. We're not the only country. Europe, Great Britain, Portugal, Germany, Denmark, all of those countries have their own ability to gather intelligence. And I would say they would be more accurate in their intelligence because if Iran was nuclear armed, Europe is at more of a threat because Europe is closer to Iran. You follow where I'm going? But why was it that only the U.S. intelligence agencies, only ours, had information saying that Iran was developing a nuclear weapon and they were 2 weeks away from it? Why was it just our intelligence agencies and nobody else? Because it was bullshit. Complete bullshit. And it was a way in which Donald Trump could exercise consuming territory that belongs to another nation that we don't like. We have become incredibly Islamophobic in this nation. And it's scary because Islam literally means peace. I would say that Christians are very violent people, but I'm not having a religious debate with you guys because I probably wouldn't win that one. But they won't even blame him. And if you don't blame the person or the entity that has a disproportionate amount of control over people's opportunity, like the ones that are actually causing the harm, if you don't see them as responsible, then America is going to continue its backslide. The other part is, I think a lot of folks after 2008, after 2012, thought America was in a much better place. It felt that way. A lot of folks didn't like Hillary Clinton. I didn't know that the hate for Hillary Clinton was worth what we got in Donald Trump. A women president, we got to probably have a discussion. I'm not ready to have it yet because I hate to tell good people bad news. Kamala is flirting with the idea of running. Okay? She's leading in the polls. Maybe people think that she was wronged or we should have believed her the first time because there used to be a saying, believe women. Kamala told us how bad Trump was going to be. Didn't believe her. Now some people are saying, oh, maybe we should give her another chance. I think she would lose again. White women are the largest voting bloc in America, bar none, hands down. And me as an African American man, black people in general, don't have political influence on the largest group of voters that need their white privilege. White women, they need it because being a woman subjects you to everything that black women face. And so the white privilege that white women vote for is to embolden and empower their fathers, their husbands, their sons, in hopes that they as white women are protected. What white women got for that was a curtailing of their reproductive rights because they empowered the very men who need white women to have more sons so that they can maintain their power and control over white women. It is a spiraling chaos that is hard to fathom, but it's literally where we are at. All right, guys, so I'm having a hell of a time having this conversation with you, but I think I am going to, because I'm having some issues here, problems on my end, which I don't know if you can see them or not. I think I might come back in a little while, but right now I need to restart and see if I can fix some of the things that are wrong. I would say that today went a little bit better than yesterday. Each day we're going to get a little bit better. Please do not expect this to be perfect. I'm trying my damnedest, but I think that so far for day 2 we've done a little bit better. So I may come back on here in a little while, but at the moment I need to